All right, it's now time for raising funds for world domination, day number 163. So it's time for the daily update. So the next N13 merits hearing is in 2 days, on Monday. And the last major release of the block mining game was almost a month ago now. The last video that I released was the one on business law, which is one of my worst performing videos in the last 10, which I guess is not too surprising. It's kind of a boring video, but if you find yourself needing to know that information, it's pretty useful. As for the status of the store, so a couple of my products got disabled, so the links are not showing on YouTube, or the product references are not showing on YouTube anymore. So I have to fix that. I'll probably wait until after the hearing. Yeah, I got 4 sales so far, and have not shipped the items yet, but it doesn't matter because Canada Post is on strike. Oh, I also added a link. I'm pretty sure I didn't verify that it clicks through, but I think it should work. I think there should be a link in the description to the Shopify store. So if you want, you can get a very good deal on a custom dedicated block type, which will be Goethite. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's my attempt. Yeah, so tonight we're going to continue working on the block mining simulation game. We're going to work toward getting crafting recipes done, which the major piece of work for that involves a general purpose scrollable list menu UI feature. So once again, this will probably be a shorter stream. I'll probably just do a short one tonight, and then probably also a short one tomorrow night as well. I guess the main thing I worked on today was I did a bunch of filming actually for another video. This one will probably take a bit longer. It's kind of a background thing. All right, list looks good. The next thing is going to be a scroll bar on the side. Edmund EDIT says, "Yo, how's it going? Welcome, you're the #1 chatter tonight." Yeah, renderable list. IQazar says, "Whoa. You're impressed by something." Crazy Dave speech lines. I don't know what that means. I mean the lines of code and how they're long and wrap around. Plants vs. Zombies. There's this guy called Crazy Dave. He speaks pure gibberish, and it's funny in some way. All right, I don't know what that relates to the live stream. Do you have trouble abstracting your things in programming? I would say no. Michael Parker says, what is the temperature? The temperature tonight is 1. That's kind of what I wanted, but let me... I expected this to make the uninitialized area one space forward. Are you more productive in the day or at night with your work? It's a good question. I don't know, I'm productive at both times, to be honest. He says, hello, Robert Tiller Software. How is anyone doing? I'm pretty good. I had a decently productive day. I got the thing I wanted filmed. Tomorrow is just going to be a kind of relaxing day. I have to study for the N13 hearing. So I think my issue can be resolved by not printing this. On the last column. You do any Java, broski? Yeah, it is Java. How much sleep do you get in a day? I receive an adequate amount of sleep. That's also not what I expected. Java without Moonkai theme? I don't even know what that is. Working on a lazy Gradle TY for doing Gradle tasks like Lazy Docker. Pilled or cursed? I've never used Gradle actually. Gradle's the alternative to Maven for the build system, if I remember correctly. I always get Gradle confused with some other things. Every project where I've been using Maven. I guess just by coincidence, every project that I work on always seems to use Maven. So that's, I guess, what I just ended up learning, and I've never been forced to learn Gradle, so I just kind of learned Maven more and more. You said a TUI for doing Gradle tasks. Yeah, I think a better graphical interface would help for a lot of so much. There's so many build problems and stuff that you can have with the build system. At least Maven. Maven is just I don't know. There's not a lot of visibility into how it works, and there's Like there was one specific problem I had when I tried getting this project to work, also in IntelliJ, so I could do debugging and stuff. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to get the project to work in it with my JNI library. And then I found that there was some like hidden Maven build rule called like process classes, and then the process classes build target or build lifecycle was that was triggering the JNI, and when I ran it from the way I was running it in IntelliJ, it that was not getting triggered, and it was just a ton of time to figure that out. So I had to like change it. Just lots of silly stuff like that. If the UI actually made it easier, it gave you better visibility into how to fix issues like that. But one problem is I find sometimes it's better to just use like the XML or file, like literal files. Instead of like trying to figure out how to modify like the Maven settings from within the project GUI, just like learn how to edit the XML files. I feel like unless you need very complicated build management stuff, you're better off in Maven. Yeah, I think I would consider some of my stuff relatively complicated. Like I have multi-module projects and stuff that involves like building a JNI library stuff. I don't know anything about Gradle. It just seems like more people use Maven, so I kind of want to stick with what there's lots of support for. Java Android is more Gradle driven. Oh, okay. I guess I don't do any Android development. That's maybe why I don't see it. So you just end up in GDP for debugging the JNI bits. Currently, the JNI that I have is so simple. I've never even needed to debug it once. It's just like a thing to cache some signals and pass them in. Eventually, though, I would imagine I may have to debug that. Do you work at McDonald's in the morning? Do I work at McDonald's in the morning? That's a pretty random question. I do not work at McDonald's in the morning. I thought this was going to be simple, but it's not. Let's do it together. Do Android development. I don't want to get back into mobile development. What's your term, editor? I've had some minor success with the available NeoVim Java plugins for debugging as well. Yeah, it's on my. Quite a few people have suggested I should use NeoVim, and it's on my to-do list. But I have so many things going on that I have just never looked into it. This is just kind of a. I do like no preparation for these streams, and just come on and grind a bit of progress out of this. But I guess if I did like 8 hours of coding a day again, then I'd maybe take the time to look into NeoVim. I need to improve my development with language servers and AI and all that. So many things to look into now. What you're trying to do? I'm trying to add a scroll bar. Yeah, NeoVim, from what I understand, it's easy to get a language server working with it. So that's one of the reasons I want to try it out. Let's see, what does this do? I think two things that are weird that are throwing me off. Okay, that's closer to what I thought I would get. Why did that work when I added -1? Oh, that makes sense because it's 0 based and it has to skip the last one. Something like LazyVim to give you a good opinionated base with easy to set up language servers and such. LazyVim, is that the name of a language server? I remember I looked into this like deeply. I want to say 2 years ago, but maybe it's probably more than that now. To find out, like, is there to get like nice autocomplete with Vim, and there was a bunch of random GitHub projects where you can install some plugin. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I don't want to install some random sketchy stuff. But then in that time, how old is NeoVim? Or how long has it supported language servers? Right, so the initialization thing is doing what I expect. So the area used by the list is actually that's going to be started with Eclipse, tried used IntelliJ, went back to Eclipse. Maybe Vim next. I like to install language servers soon by myself without a black box. Yeah, I started on Eclipse years ago. That was my intro to Java. And actually, when I was at Amazon, the computers that we had there were too slow. They only had I think they only had 4 gigs of RAM. And we had to do all this development inside virtual machines and stuff. And they would always run out of memory and crash. So I switched from developing in Eclipse to just writing stuff in Vim because it used less memory. And ever since then, I kind of just, well, I guess most of my development over the years has always been in Vim. All right, that's looking better. I guess I had a pre-existing bug. Was calculating the width on that. Actually, let me run that again. Done most of my professional stuff in IntelliJ. Only been a Java dev for a single company. Yeah, I hadn't used an IDE for Java in quite a few years, so for working on this, actually, if you go back to the earliest part of this day, I don't know, around day 10 or something on this series, I think I was messing around with IntelliJ for the first time just to learn how it actually works and stuff, and learn how to get this project working in the debugger and stuff. I found that I spent a lot of time like compiling and rebuilding, and I was hoping that IntelliJ would have like some there'd be something simple so I could easily just like change the code and then build with a much faster iteration time. But I've kept finding with the multi-modules project, I kept needing to rebuild it anyway, and then so I just kind of regressed back to using vanilla Vim. But every once in a while, there's some kind of problem I have where it's really it makes way more sense to just open the debugger and use that. Not sure about Maven. I do feel the same caching mechanisms should persist. Usually those interfaces just run the normal Maven commands. Yeah, I think the issue is I have like a core package, and then the main thing that runs is like so it's a game, so I have like the block game core, and then there's the block game single player, and single player is it's a pretty simple project, but when I want to run it, I have to do like a Maven install, and maybe I can just, it might be possible for me to just learn more about how to run it. Or actually, I think you know what, so I only need to do mvn install if I change the core package, which actually most of it is on there. I think there's some steps where I probably can do less, but then I find them all, but when I try to make it more lean, then I find that I'll do changes and I'll accidentally forget to like Maven install it or something. So then I'm wondering like, why doesn't this change work? But it's because it's not actually Maven installed. Module-based stuff is probably good when aggregating generic programs. A little bit like Linux does it. Yeah, for this project, there's I have like a couple of different well, actually, in this one, it's just the single player client and the unit tests. But in the other, I have another branch where there's like a work in progress multiplayer client, and so there are separate jars with like a separate input build target. That should be more correct. And then also, I guess, Andrew Fincher says the frog is coming. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, the fog is coming. I misread that. I guess the question still stands, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's see. Nope, wrong area. Alright, that's a bit closer. All right, that's a start to a scroll bar. All right, it's not much of a scroll bar right now, but all I have to do is, I guess, just cycle through, and for every cell, I just like highlight it so that as you go down, as you scroll through the list, that'll update to give you some feedback on what position you're in the list. And I guess I'll just take the I have an index for the first visible item, and I can calculate what percentage of items are, that are on screen are actually make up the overall list, and then just translate that into a different color coding for this. And that'll be the scroll bar. And I think I'll probably stop there for tonight. I said, it won't be too long. I gotta focus on getting my wake up time a bit earlier for Monday. And I guess tomorrow I'll probably just work on the percentage thing. That's pretty easy. And that'll be it for today. And then after on Monday night, I guess we'll figure out what the longer term vision is going to be. All right, have a good night, everyone.